Welcome to another edition of Bet with Bobano, Thursday, July 18th. Ian Cameron, and this is our last show this week before we get back into live sports live sports that I'm actually going to be involved with from a betting standpoint as we have the return of the Major League Baseball regular season tomorrow. Friday's show, we'll have a full MLB card breakdown, of course, and we will also have Connor Mack likely joining me tomorrow. So back to MLB analysis on the show tomorrow. But today, it's going to be our final show this week with football division preview in the NFL. And we've gone through the entire NFC this week. We've done the East, we've done the South, we've done the North already. And today, we're going to wrap up the NFC division previews with the NFC West, a division that's been ruled by the San Francisco 49ers the last few years. Will it be their division again this year? We'll have to wait and see, but we'll begin. Actually, before we get into the division previews, we do want to remind you of all the subscription options available to you right now. 6 months, all sports, $400 down to $250 US, now through January, including the entire NFL regular season and college football season. It's important to note this 6 months all sports discount at Dub Club. It's valid until August 24th, which is the very first day of the college football season. That's when this offer will expire. It will no longer be available after August 24th. So you have until then to sign up and take advantage of this. Again, it's 6 months from $400, the regular price, down to $250 US. And the point of offering this now is that so that you're covered for pretty much most of, if not the entire NFL and college football season. If you wait till August to sign up, you actually will be covered for the entire NFL and college football season. But again, this offer is available until August 24th. Take advantage. It was a phenomenal football season last year. 22.2 units of profit combined between NFL and college football, $22,200 if you equate it to the dollar amount of profit. So a great season last year, and we're hoping to duplicate that. And a reminder, the subscription will include my NFL and college football season win totals and futures betting report, which will be posted August the 1st, only 2 weeks from now. So that is right around the corner that will be uploaded for all Dub Club subscribers. So that is available. And until the end of the weekend, you will also be able to subscribe to 1 month all sports, $75 down to $36 using the birthday promo codes available for Dub Club for my birthday week. $39 off because I just turned 39 last weekend. 3 months all sports, $200 down to $161. Again, $39 off. And 1 year all sports, $750 the normal price down to $711 for 1 year all sports. Again, $39 off. With Dub Club, any of those subscriptions I just mentioned, you get my full card, every single wager, every single day in every single sport. But if you want an alternative option, a little bit of a cheaper option, and an option for the lower volume bettor, where you'll only get my top plays and best bets daily in all sports, then you can now take advantage of my new alternative subscription option, which is at SoBet. There is the link on the screen, a $9.95 per month subscription. And again, you will have access to my short selective card each day in all sports via SoBet, my top plays and best bets only. This will not be the full card like with Dub Club. This is strictly top plays and best bets only that will be posted at SoBet. You can subscribe to that for $9.95 per month using the link you see. And just wanted to also point out that the links for the Dub Club subscriptions, including the discounts and the SoBet $9.95 per month subscription, all the links for that will be posted in the comments section of this video and every video and show that I post here on my channel. So again, to get the links, you will be seeing them every day with every video in the comments section of each video. All right, let's get into the NFC West. We'll begin with the Arizona Cardinals. As we've often done, we begin in alphabetical order. When you look at the Arizona Cardinals coming into this season, it's a team that was not expected to do very much last year, but they ended up 4-13, which is actually better than people thought. There's a lot of people that thought 1 win, 2 wins is all this team would get last year. But when you look at it, Kyler Murray ended up, of course, being out for the start of the last season. He didn't really return until week 10, and he actually played okay, and they got some surprising victories. Again, though, Kyler Murray has been certainly a guy that's suffered a slew of injuries in his career. Whether he can get through an entire season is still a big question mark. Torn ACL. We'll have to wait and see, but coming off that, but he's now got that playing time in the second half of last year under his belt, which should help him going into this season. Of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. taken with the 4th overall pick. They badly needed a number 1 receiver. Obviously, he's a rookie, and maybe it's going to take him time, but we know the talent's there with Marvin Harrison Jr., an elite wide receiver, a big play weapon type of wide receiver in college football with Ohio State. And obviously, Arizona is hoping that he will be the guy to unlock the big plays in the passing attack for this Arizona Cardinals offense. Thank God they drafted him, because you look at the rest of the receiving core. You got Greg Dortch. He's going to have to play well, but the rest of the receiving core is a little bit patchwork. They do have Trey McBride, who's a solid tight end. James Conner at running back. It'll be interesting to see how he fares here. Trey Benson was taken in the 3rd round by this Cardinals team to shore up the running back spot as well. We'll see how that goes. The offensive line had their issues last year as well, but they ended up drafting Isaiah Adams. You look at the rest of this line, Paris Johnson. They signed Jonah Williams to help this O-line as well coming into the season. It definitely should be better. How much better remains to be seen. And then you look at the rest of the starting line unit along the O-line. It should be interesting to see how it goes, but it's definitely an upgraded O-line with compared to what they had to work with last year. The defensive side of the football, obviously, this is an area that needs work too for Arizona. Darius Robinson drafted 27th overall. Definitely someone that should help that defensive front, especially stopping the run. And when you look at the rest of this defense and what they were able to address, Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, are guys that they hope can improve and play better. But definitely it's a D line that was not very good last year, and there's still going to be some question marks as to how much improvement they can make. Pass rush was an issue last year as well for this team, and when you look at it, B.J. Ojolari and Zaven Collins didn't play great by any stretch of the imagination. And when you look at it, just the ability to get to the quarterback just wasn't there. And if they can't get to the quarterback, that means the secondary better play well, because you're going to see a lot of one-on-one situations. If that's or actually they might have to blitz a little bit more, Arizona, to bring extra pressure, because I don't know if this D line on its own is going to get a good pass rush consistently. So can that secondary cover one-on-one down the field? That's going to end up being a big question. Budda Baker is a tremendous safety. There's no question. And that position's pretty good. Mediocre linebacking core. Kaiser White's all right, but the rest of that linebacking core is not great. But the secondary does have potential. Max Melton in the 2nd round was taken. Elijah Jones in the 3rd round. They bring in Sean Murphy Bunting from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's had a very good career as a cornerback in this league. So all of a sudden that secondary does look better and looks actually like probably the strength of this defense. But again, if you're going to have to blitz and bring extra pressure to get to the quarterback because this pass rush isn't great, can they still cover one-on-one's a big question going into this season. I think when you look at this team, they're going to continue to make incremental improvement. There's no question, but whether they can escape the basement in the NFC West and whether they can be better than the Rams and the 49ers, which I don't think is happening, and I don't even think they're at the point where they're better than Seattle right now. But I do think there's going to be a chance for this team, maybe from an ATS perspective, to be a profitable team. They're going to be an underdog in most games this season. I think there's some pieces in place, and especially if you're going to get Kyler Murray playing well, and staying healthy, which is a big if. Jonathan Gannon, not bad considering what he had to work with in his first year. Remember, rookie head coach last year. So I think from an ATS standpoint, there's going to be maybe some opportunities to make some money with Arizona. But whether that shows up tangibly as far as their win-loss record, that remains to be seen. I'm not sure I'm ready to buy into them winning the NFC West yet, and that's definitely not the case. So I wouldn't be looking at a future with them to win the division. As far as their win total, 6.5, definitely some improvement projected. This is a team that won obviously last year just 4 games, and now you're going to have to see this team win 7 this year to cash that over. I'm not ready to ask them to do that yet. This is a team I'm not betting over or under. But I do think from an ATS standpoint, there'll be some good spots to take Arizona throughout the season, given the right situation, the right matchup. All right, next up, we've got the LA Rams. The Rams, of course, Matthew Stafford, his health is imperative to this football team. And it actually showed last year. Matthew Stafford still got some gas in the tank. He played pretty solid for this Rams team, and their offense was very good. Obviously, the explosion of Puka Nacua onto the scene in his rookie year. Just sometimes you have a diamond in the rough. You find a gem later in the draft, and it sure looks like the LA Rams found that in Puka Nacua, who was just amazing last year. Rookie record for receiving yards in his first season last year. And wait till you get Cooper Kupp and him on the field for the majority of games. And that only happened down the stretch last year when Cooper Kupp came back from injury. And then when the two of them were on the field, what a 1-2 punch they proved to be, Nacua and Kupp, as far as big play wide receiver weapons for Matthew Stafford. And don't forget about Demarcus Robinson, who actually had a very good finish to the season. They finally committed to the run game way more. Not that Sean McVay never runs the football, but he definitely made a concerted effort to let's make sure we give Kyren Williams his touches, make sure we give Kyren Williams his opportunities to run the football. And that certainly helped this Rams offense as well. He's not only a physical, bruising running back, but he's got underrated speed in the open field. He had almost 1,200 rushing yards last year. He's a very good pass-catching running back as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can build on that this year. Blake Corum is a guy they drafted out of Michigan, the Rams, for some running back depth, and they do still have, when you look at this situation too, they did draft Corum for this LA Rams team. But you look at the rest of the running back crew as well. They still have, it looks like, Ronnie Rivers, Boston Scott from the Philadelphia Eagles as well in there. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think Kyren Williams is going to definitely be the go-to, the bell cow running back, and he certainly showed what he might be capable of. You know, the offensive line last year was much improved. There's no question. Of course, they've had issues over the years, especially going back to when Andrew Whitworth retired. But they have definitely saw that offensive line improve significantly this year. And I think this O-line last year, I should say, the O-line improved. This year, it should be very good again. No question about that. It'll be interesting to see how Avila, the guy they drafted in the second round, plays. But you look at Jonah Jackson, Kevin Dotson, they're there now, obviously. And when you look at the tackles that they have with Alaric Johnson and Rob Havenstein, this is a good offensive line and should be a good offensive line once again this year. So there's definitely a lot of reasons to like this Rams offense. The O-line's solid. Obviously, they're loaded at receiver. Matthew Stafford, if he gets time to throw the football, which he should, and when he does have a good run game he can rely on, which he should, because Kyren Williams showed it last year, this should be a very good offense, and you've got a very good offensive mind leading the way as head coach. So no reason to think they can't be a very good offensive team again. Defense is going to be the question, because the Rams did struggle a little bit on that side of the football last year. So while the offense was phenomenal, they're definitely going to have some issues. Aaron Donald's retired, but Aaron Donald didn't have his best year. That was a tame year for Aaron Donald standards last year. Yes, they do have to replace him, but I don't think he was as good. But they draft Jared Verse, who has the chance to be a big-time pass rusher in this league out of Florida State, no doubt. So Jared Verse, can he step in right away and be effective? Byron Young, 8 sacks last year. He certainly showed what he's capable of. So they might have a pass rush if Jared Verse can hit the ground running as a rookie. When you look at the rest of the D-line, you've got Bobby Brown, Kobe Turner there. It'll be interesting to see how he fares. Definitely Turner was very solid last year and should fit in well here for the Rams on this D-line. They upgraded in the free agent market as well with this defense as well. They bring in Darius Williams and, of course, the veteran Tre'Davious White, long time thought of as one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills. But again, Tre'Davious White's had injury issues the last few years. So will he be able to stay on the field? That remains to be seen. It'll be interesting. Darius Williams, of course, he was with the Rams a few years ago and then went to Jacksonville and now will be back here with this Rams team. So again, I think, and they definitely will, I think, be an improved secondary. Again, assuming Trey White especially can stay on the field. But the secondary definitely, which was a problem last year, they gave up a few too many big plays, should be improved. And I think when you look at the linebacking core, certainly Ernest Jones that was very solid in that role. The linebacking core actually looks pretty decent as well. So definitely strides forward for the defense this season. Very good football team. And I think when I look at the Rams here coming into this season, kicking issues at times last year. They do have a new punter. It'll be interesting to see how that goes for this team. They did have some kicking concerns, but this is an excellent offense. This is an improved defense. And I think, if San Francisco, has a little bit of not a massive drop off or a massive decline, but even if they don't have quite the regular season that they've had repeatedly in recent years, the LA Rams may be the benefactors to swoop in and maybe win this division. But, I do like this Rams team. Over 8.5 wins, I think, is a solid bet. I like that over win total 8.5. I think they can be a 9-8 football team this season, the LA Rams. So I like LA Rams over 8.5. I don't mind taking just a very small. There's a couple of. I'm trying to beat San Francisco this year in the NFC West. I don't think it is a foregone conclusion that this is a 49ers division win again this year in the NFC West, even though they're minus 210 favorites. To be able to take a little plus 350 with the Rams to win this division, I'm keeping that small, but I think it's worth a few bucks because I think this team has it in them to, at the very least, push San Francisco here in the NFC West. And a great segue to our next team, the aforementioned San Francisco 49ers, losing in the Super Bowl last year. And that's another concern I have with San Francisco. How many times have we seen the Super Bowl losing team not exactly get out of the gate strong the following season? Maybe that's going to happen again here with the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, last year, Brock Purdy or 2 years ago, Brock Purdy takes over. Last year was his first full season with the team. Takes them all the way to the Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to see how that receiving core looks because we hear all the Brandon Ayuk trade rumblings that he's asked for a trade. He wants out. Now, will he get that trade? Remains to be seen. There's no doubt, but definitely something to monitor here as we head into training camp, whether Brandon Ayuk will make it to training camp and beyond as a member of the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings really stepped up down the stretch last year as well. There's still options there, but they'd miss Ayuk. And one thing about Kyle Shanahan teams, though, is usually they're able to develop the next guy at a bunch of the key offensive skill positions. So even if they do part ways with Ayuk, it doesn't mean all of a sudden the wide receiving core is going to really fall off. And obviously, you've still got George Kittle, and suddenly you've got a very good backup tight end too, in Logan Thomas. I'm thinking of hockey. Logan Thomas for the San Francisco 49ers. So the tight end spot definitely has some depth to it. There's no question. Of course, you got Christian McCaffrey. Just an incredible season. He's managed to stay healthy here with San Francisco more often than not. The O-line, though, look, Trent Williams is amazing. It's incredible how even well into his 30s, he still plays at a very high level as a left tackle for this team. There's no question how good he still is. The rest of that O-line was very, very pedestrian. They had some concerns. The run blocking wasn't always consistent. The pass protection, there were times Purdy had to scramble and improvise and make something happen. They've got, I think, in the interior, you've got average or below average guards for this team. That's definitely something that would bother me a little bit. So the O-line is not as good as it's been. And here's the problem. They've relied so much on Trent Williams. Well, Trent Williams, is going to end up being someone that I think when you look at it with Trent Williams, as great as he was last year, as great as a career as he's been, how long can he keep going at that kind of level? Can you count on that year in and year out? I mean, do we start to see some decline in Trent Williams this year? So there are some concerns I have, at least, for the 49ers along the offensive line. Defense, when you look at last year, Chase Young gone, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. I don't think that's a big deal. But losing Eric Armstead, is a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see how they replace him. You look at the defense here, the rest of it. The good news is Leonard Floyd was brought in, and that should definitely help. And the thing with it, Leonard Floyd, is he's likely going to replace Chase Young, and play on the opposite side of the incredible, tremendous Nick Bosa, the other pass rusher. And Leonard Floyd can't play any worse than Chase Young did. In fact, he'll probably play better. So that's pretty good. I like the Gross Matos addition as well. Drake Jackson, second-round pick last year, should get more opportunity. Malik Collins, a nice addition along the defensive front as well to take the spot of the departed Eric Armstead. So that's good news, for the 49ers that they addressed that. Javon Hargrave, is going to end up being a nice addition as well, too, from this team. So even though they lost a couple players, they did a nice job patching it up. Devondre Campbell brought in as a line to add to this linebacking core. Last year, not his best year, but he's still been a pretty good player for a long time in this league. Dre Greenlaw, of course, with the injury suffered in the Super Bowl, he's going to be out for an indefinite period of time, which means Campbell and, of course, the terrific Fred Warner are going to end up being a big part of this linebacking core here for the 49ers this year. Tashawn Gibson leaves the secondary, but for the most part, very, very similar group to what they had last year. Talanoa Hufanga is someone that really, really came on last year in that secondary for the 49ers. He looks like he's going to be one of those impact, be careful you throw the ball to where he is on the field type of defensive backs. No question. Charvarius Ward, it'll be, he was pretty solid last year, but finding that other guy to really play well at the other corner spot and being a pretty good player, that's going to be the challenge here for San Francisco, no doubt. Of course, they've got Jake Moody now in his second year as the kicker. He had some struggles early, but certainly looked good, no doubt, down the stretch of the season. So you look at the 49ers, the one thing, too, to keep an eye on is their schedule, and who they have to play. They do have, it's a mix of, they do play, obviously, the Vikings, the Patriots, some weaker teams. They also have the Lions, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and, of course, the Jets on the first game of the season, the first Monday nighter of the season, and the Kansas City Chiefs. So it is going to be a pretty difficult schedule here for San Francisco with some of these opponents that they're going to have to deal with. This kind of feels like, for me, I haven't moved on the 49ers win total, but it's at the very least, for me, an under lean with San Francisco's win total. For me, I just don't know if I'm ready to ask this team to be 12-5 or better. I think that's asking a lot, especially when you factor in the number of pretty good opponents they have to play. I don't know if I'll move on it. I'll certainly make up my mind by August 1st when I release my season win totals and futures report, but I would only look to the under 11.5 when it comes to the 49ers win total. And like I said, I think minus 210, that kind of a price for them to win the division. I get it. They're the team to beat coming into the season, but I'm not laying that price. Not when I think the Rams are nipping at their heels. And this next team, the final team we're going to talk about, Seattle, the Seattle Seahawks. You're looking at a Seattle team that last year finished 9-8, in fact, in each of the last two seasons for this Seahawks team. I absolutely love the coaching hire. Obviously, part ways in the offseason, Pete Carroll on the Seahawks, and taking over now is Mike McDonald, who did an incredible job in 2 seasons as the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. I think he is a very good coach. I think he's I like them giving, young, up-and-coming, good, smart coaches the chance. He's only 37 years old, but I think he's ready for this opportunity. I really think it's a good hire. Not a bold hire, but I like that they didn't go the recycled coach route. They went with Mike McDonald, and I do think it's going to end up being a nice hire here for the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, they bring back Geno Smith once again as the number one quarterback. Sam Howell is primarily going to be the backup here. He comes over from Washington, where clearly we found out last year with Sam Howell, he ain't number one quarterback material. He's a backup. That's what he is in this league, and that's what he will be here for Seattle. Probably a guy that can come in and play well when he has to on occasion, but he's not someone I think you really trust to be a great bona fide starting quarterback for you. Again, it'll be interesting to see how this goes with Geno Smith this year. I think when you look at last year, it's going to be interesting to see how if he can get the offensive coaching staff can get the most out of him. Obviously, when you look at the receiving core, it seems like we're talking about the same two stalwarts year in and year out: DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. How many years have we talked about them? They're back. Jackson Smith and Jigba, though, out of Ohio State, really came on last year, late in the season. Jake Bobo showed some flashes. Laviska Shenault as well. They're going to need that group to step up and provide support because, look, Metcalf has had some injury issues. You could even say the same thing a little bit about Lockett, but certainly Smith and Jigba among them stepped up. Can they keep it going is going to end up being the question. The running back group, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet leading them. I think that's a good 1-2 punch, pretty solid 1-2 punch. No complaints there for me at running back. As far as the offensive line, all three starters along the interior of that group gone, and that's going to be the interesting thing to monitor. They bring in Laken Tomlinson, third round pick, Christian Haynes, he might have to start right away. How good are they going to be? That's going to end up being the question. And, you look at the new center for Seattle, a guy that they used a fifth round pick on a couple of years ago, Oluwatimi here for the Seahawks. Hasn't had many starts under his belt, and now they're asking him to play the center spot. How is that going to go? Big questions there. So that O-line definitely is a concern for me. On the defensive side of the football, when you look at what Seattle has, not very good last year. They had to address it. They went to Byron Murphy. They took him, obviously, a tremendous defensive tackle. He should be probably starting right away. He's got the talent to do so. It'll be interesting to see how if Jaron Reed, Draymond Jones can improve. Leonard Williams, it was a guy that they got last year prior to the trade deadline. They're going to need more from him as well. But definitely Byron Murphy was a great draft selection. They needed it. Getting pressure on the quarterback, which is so important these days. Seattle was not able to do it, at a consistent enough rate. So how will they be able to get that pass rush? You hope Murphy can be good, but you're also going to need Uchenna and Wusu to step up here. That's going to be important. That pass rush, there is still some questions. The secondary, when you look at it, if the pass rush isn't great, they're going to have to cover. And when you receivers down the field, and do you trust this Seattle secondary to be able to do that, is going to end up being the question. But Devin Witherspoon was tremendous last year and should be even better. He's in year 2 now. You look at Tariq Woolen, Michael Jackson, not the Michael Jackson, another Michael Jackson. They also played solid at times for the Seattle Seahawks. So the secondary actually could be solid, especially if Witherspoon plays as good and it maybe even improves upon last year, which he's got the capabilities to. They have to start fresh, though, in the safety position, replacing both starters. We'll see how he fares here. Rayshon Jenkins, Julian Love will be tasked at that, no question. And as far as the linebacking position here for this Seattle Seahawks team, how about the linebacking core? Bobby Wagner gone. And that's someone that's been kind of a leader, a captain of the defense, too, for the Seahawks the last few years. But now all of a sudden you're going to have to rely on Jerome Baker, Tyrese Knight, Tyrell Dodson, guys like that. They're going to have to be the stalwarts and play at a high level in that linebacking core. Can they do it? You're replacing, 3 of your best linebackers last year. That might be asking. Now, again, you could say, well, that defense wasn't very good last year. But still, you're putting in new starters. I guess when you look at it that way, they could be it could only go up for the whole defense, but still, it's kind of concerning when three of your most productive linebackers you got to replace them, and that's obviously been the case for the Seattle Seahawks. And to be honest with you, it'll be interesting to see if Jason Myers can rebound because he's had a great career, great run in Seattle, but he wasn't consistent last year. Suddenly started to miss some field goals, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can maybe turn things around. When you look at their schedule, they actually do have an easy schedule at the beginning. It gets tougher after that. How will they fare? 9-8 the last 2 years. Their win total here is sitting right now at around, let me just see here, 7.5. Lean over. But here's my concern with Seattle. Can Geno play well? Can the O-line, sort through their issues? Because there's a lot of concerns with that group. There's concerns a little bit about the pass rush. And again, the linebacking core is a bit. I like the secondary. I do think the secondary's got some upside here for Seattle. But can they get home with the pass rush? If they can, this actually could be a pretty solid defense. And if they're able to find some guys to step up for the players they lost, including Bobby Wagner at the linebacker spot, this could end up being a good defense. And the reason why I'm giving the defense the chance to be better is because of who they hired as head coach. Like, I believe in Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald coordinated a phenomenal defensive group 2 years in a row with Baltimore. You could argue that the personnel with the pass rush is not, they don't have a depth of great pass rushers. The linebacking core is starting anew. Those are the two areas of concern for the defense, but I trust Mike Macdonald to work with what he's got and probably get the most, out of this defense. And then as far as the offense goes, can the O-line hold up? Because Geno Smith does need an O-line that can not only protect him, but open up the run game. Because then suddenly, if Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet and those running backs are able to run and find space, then it opens up Geno Smith down the field to TJ or Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and the receivers. They do have a decent receiving core, especially when the veterans like Metcalf and Lockett stay healthy. But obviously them staying on the field is going to be key. I just don't want to bet under 7. And even though the schedule is daunting, and I still think the 49ers are ahead of Seattle in this division, I think the Rams are probably ahead of Seattle in this division. I don't want to bet a good head coach under 7.5 wins. And I'm pretty firm on my belief here that Mike Macdonald was a great hire and that Mike Macdonald's going to be a pretty good NFL head coach. And I don't want to bet a guy like that under. He does have some challenges. Maybe year one's going to be a rough year for him. But I'm probably going to sit out this win total. And put it this way, if it is a rough year for Mike Macdonald, they finish 6-11, 5-12, they don't have a great year, then we're going to have value to bet Seattle's win total over next year. Because I think year two, you could see that leap in improvement from year one to year two. Because again, I believe in Mike Macdonald. I think it was a very good hire by this Seahawks team. There you go. That's the NFC West. Appreciate you guys joining me for it, tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't done so already. And we will wrap up with a best bet from this NFC West division preview. And for me, the best bet here is going to be LA Rams over 8.5 wins, minus 150. This is not a division where I like the win totals as much as some of the others and some of the other teams that I'm interested in as far as season win totals. But I think the Rams can get me to 9-8 or better, which will cash the ticket. I love the offense. If Matthew Stafford stays healthy, Puka and Cooper Kupp together could be magic. Kyron Williams showed you what he could do running the football. The O-line's excellent. The defense and the strides that group makes, that is what's going to be the key for the LA Rams here, to not only contend and win the NFC West, but also contend for a Super Bowl here in 2024. And if that defense improves, and especially if it improves by leaps and bounds, they very well could be a dark horse NFC Super Bowl contender this year in 2024. So I'm going to take the LA Rams here over 8.5 wins, minus 145, minus 150. That is going to be my best bet here for this NFC West division preview edition of Bet with Bobano. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me. Hit the like button on the way out. I'm Ian Cameron. We are back on Friday. And we're back to capping MLB baseball again. Yes, MLB regular season returning tomorrow. Make sure you join us for the Friday MLB card analysis. And again, make sure you check out the discount offers for Dub Club, 6 months all sports, down to $250. The $39 off birthday promo week offers for 1 month, 3 month, and 1 year all sports subscriptions at Dub Club, plus the top plays, best bets only subscription option at SoBet. All the links for those subscription options are in the comments section below the video. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Bet like Tony Soprano. Bet with Bobano. And we will see you again on Friday for another edition of Bet with Bobano.